Oh. 1, 2, 3. All right. So, so I guess well, I wasn't prepared for speaking English, but now Connie is here, so welcome back.
Thank you.
So I guess I can shift. No worries.
No.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah. And ironically, it's for one of the few people who didn't like the movie that I'm shifting to English. So, makes it even more interesting. No, definitely, it's fun. So, yeah, do I have the full screen here? I guess so. All right, so yeah, like, well, I'm glad that you liked it. I mean, really, I didn't expect you to like it this much. So that's awesome. Right, so I feel good, especially that some of you said that you feel some kind of a change from the beginning of season to the end, which is exactly what I wanted. So I feel so good. And yeah, so a little bit about, yeah, I totally agree with Amir. So that's such a curious Linklater movie, and both me and Sepe really love Richard Linklater. So yeah, we always wonder, wow, I mean, how can he do that? Like changing between genres and still manage to, you know, like communicate the ideals and stuff. So a bit more on Linklater is that, like, yeah, as most of the things that I'm going to say, actually Amir told them, but yeah, so those ideals and how he tried to put it in the movie by using Jack Black like that was very interesting because, well, there are only a few scenes where you couldn't see Jack Black in the frame. So if you watch it again, so in almost like 90% of the movie, Jack Black is there. I mean, if you hate the man, well, probably that's why you don't like it. But if, like, most of you could actually get the essence of what he was saying, then that's the reason maybe you liked the movie or found it curious. So to do it like that and still make some sense for most of us, I guess that was one of his achievements here. Yeah, so there were some conventional things here or there, but well, they didn't win the Battle of the Bands, for one thing. So I mean, yeah, they got the encore, but they didn't win. And the other band was maybe kind of better. I mean, although they were weird. So that wasn't that conventional. And also, maybe he intentionally wanted it to be a bit conventional because he wanted to connect to a generation of people. I always like new historicism. So he wanted to connect to a generation of people in 2003 that were mostly into hip-hop. So that wasn't a rock and roll generation at all. So for so many people who watched the movie back then, they got into it. So they were interested in that rebellious aspect of it. Wow, we can actually rock and have a message. It's not about scoring chicks. It's not about doing drugs. It's not only that. It's about passion. So, you know, and he wanted people to watch it. He wanted people to come, be entertained, watch it, and get to know rock and roll, the essence of it. And some of those old figures and musicians that you see on that very famous board, it's just such an inspiration to me to study music a bit more seriously, actually, that board. So because, see, it is serious. So putting the genres here and there, like rock, as he put it, rock appreciation and theory. You know, so it is something really. So if you take it seriously, it's something to study, something to teach. I've taught music like that too in my classes, definitely at times. And people get to appreciate it more when they know who those people are, the ones who wrote those lyrics and stuff. So another thing about this famous board, I'm going to go for this one. This is the actual one. So this is the actual board that they did on the set. And Linklater asked everybody, like cast and crew, to come up with ideas about the history of modern music mostly. And yeah, as you can see, it goes from left to right mostly. So starting from country blues, jazz, I don't know what that note is down there. And yeah, so all sorts of things. So you see, technically it's not all rock, but you see the influences and how they're connected. So you have the genres in boxes, and then you have the names of the bands and artists, which all the cast and crew who were, of course, insanely into music agreed upon. So there's lots of good stuff here. I mean, personally, I add some things to this when I teach it. When I use the word, so it's not everything, so I might change it here or there, or add stuff to it, or actually break it into several boards even. Like, as you can see, like in under country or blues, there's not much. Some of the favorite parts that I like is that sometimes you cannot name a genre. Like if you find a progressive rock somewhere close to the middle, like down in the center, you have psychedelic rock. To the right of it, you have prog rock. And prog rock leads to something down there which has a question mark. You can't even name it. And that example is Frank Zappa. Right? So it's really interesting. Sometimes you can't even label them. It doesn't matter. But it's good to know that where it comes from. And it's all connected. It's not like, it's not like they're coming from different planets or something. So that's the thing that I really find curious. Yeah, so you can download this and study it for yourself, so I'm not going to take too much time on this. All right, so one video, the first one that I want to show, there's this movie called The History of Future Folk. Well, since the name of this season was Music to an Alien, in this one actually there are some aliens coming to planet Earth, and by discovering music they kind of change and start to love planet Earth. And there's one scene when one of them has discovered music, and on a single banjo, he plays almost anything that you can imagine in like about a couple of minutes. So I think that should be quite nice, so let's go for that. So both these guys are aliens. The alien who's discovered music is playing it to the other alien, and so they just look like human beings.
What's that thing for? Stay away from me with that! Oh, look, I just needed to get the virus right. It was nothing personal. Come on, what is that thing? There's going to be a war for this planet regardless. Why not just end it now? Quickly, quietly, for Hondo. No!
I picked that because I felt like that was almost like our season. Actually, that's what we did. So in 2 minutes, yeah. So it sounds crazy, looks crazy. So now I'm gonna just cover some of the things that I couldn't talk about during the season. So that's why it's kind of a finale, just to wrap up everything that I want to say. So I had my notes, and usually I ran out of time. One thing was, I remember somebody asked me, so this is near the beginning when we did the classical one, the Iranian traditional one, the swing, about gypsy music and all that. So I guess somebody asked, what's the difference between Western music, Eastern music, classical, traditional, and what is what? So again, here's another comedy sketch by a duo classical comedian kind of band. And well, Mozart has this Turkish march, which is very famous. And they actually, let's see that. Let's see. Come. Oh, sorry, the video has changed. It's in YouTube something. Let me do it again. Sorry. Just a second.
Da zijn ze, Alexei Igudisman en Jan Ki Bichu.
And now, Mozart.
Sorry. Could we play this today in A majeur?
But this is Mozart alla turca in A minor.
Yes, I know that. Well, look where we are, man. We're in the Ahoy Rotterdam!
So what?
Listen to them. I mean, look at their happy faces. Everyone's in a good mood. The feeling is very positive. The feng shui here is A majeur. Come on, let's play in A majeur. Come on. Yeah.
Oh, come on, what is it? I mean,
Sorry, it's better, but it still needs to sound Oriental, Turkish, Arabic, Jewish, Yiddish, Chinese, Asian. You know, yin yang, tai chi, sing tao, ping pong.
I
Look,
don't get
the
it.
B's which you're playing, the note B. Yeah?
Yeah.
You're playing it too high. This is where you feel your B's.
Yeah.
I want you to feel your B's lower. Open your chakra. Come on, you can do it. Open your chakra. Let the energy flow from within. Stick your tongue out all the way. Breathe in and out quickly with your pelvic muscles. That's it.
Okay, come on, this is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Okay. Just play B flat instead of B. B flat instead of B. Yeah, go on. Yeah, again, B flat. Oh, B flat. Yes. Breathe.
Yeah, so you got the idea. I mean, so it's really not that far from each other. You can just tweak it a little bit here or there, and there you go. You have the connection. So just in terms of feelings, I'm not going to go through technicalities, as actually we never did throughout the season. So just getting exposed to it. Right, so just one thing about Moulin Rouge. We talked about this one. That's that Toulouse-Lautrec painting at the Moulin Rouge. So that's the one. And the short guy back there is Toulouse-Lautrec. And remember in the movie it was like that too. So and yeah, you can see just the design of the whole scene now, kind of similar to the movie. So that's for Moulin Rouge. And then for jazz, I just put this because I'm not the expert here. In Q&A, you can ask Seth whatever you want to ask. So
Not that I'm an expert.
he's the master, right? So anything about jazz, right? So, and hopefully do something at Q&A if you're really interested. Please don't be shy. And now, so I go for gospel, country, and folk kind of all together. And because I believe they're really, really related and connected. So there's a quotation by Willie Nelson. Yeah, it is simple. But it doesn't mean that it's rubbish, as so many of my friends think so, and I disagree. All right, so simplicity is not necessarily bad. And what I'm going to show you now is an episode of Pete Seeger, the father of 20th century folk music, had this program called Rainbow Quest. Maybe some of you know that. And in each episode, he invited someone to the program. In this particular episode, what makes it interesting is that he invited Johnny Cash and June Carter. So we're going to watch about 3-4 minutes of that. First, June Carter talks a little bit about Carter family, who are very influential in gospel and country music. Then Pete Seeger has a very good quotation about folk music in general, and we ended with some intimate melodies by Johnny Cash himself.
Anywhere else? Did you ever know him, Pete?
No, just heard his records, that's all.
Well, do you know, would you let me tell you a little something about him?
Please.
I will too, yeah.
Well, my Uncle A.P. Carter, of course, that's my daddy's brother. He was a tall man. He was about 6'2.5", 6'3", something like that. He was quite tall. He was quite handsome when he was young. Dark and, darker hair. And some of the people may have seen his pictures, I don't know. But he walked like a giant. I don't know how to justify that, other than the fact that when he walked onto the stage years and years ago, the old Carter family did concerts without even realizing that they did. He walked out on that stage, and there was something about that man that just demanded attention and got it. He stood, and Mother and Aunt Sarah used to sit down with their guitars, and the old lamps would be lined across the front of the stage.
No microphone.
No mics at all. But he would tell a story about the songs, where he got it, where it came from, if they wrote it, or where he got the song, and how come them to do the song. And so many of the particular songs they did, like the Cyclone of Rycove, which was written about the disaster at the Rycove schoolhouse. He told why, where it came from, the fate of Dewey Lee, so many of those old ones. But the songs from the Spanish-American War and things like that, he would just say he got this down on the river at old such and such's house, but where it came from, you know. And there was just something about the man that made him great. And Mother and Aunt Sarah had the same thing. I don't know what it was. But it just demanded respect. They got it. And the country people used to come and listen to them. And I remember one story that was told by Mr. J.L. Franks, who used to do all of the shows from out of the Grand Ole Opry. He said, without the Carter family, we might have gone under. He said, now this is years ago, you know. He said that when Pee Wee King and Eddie Arnold and all of them, Minnie Pearl, started from the Grand Ole Opry, they'd play tours. And he said we'd go out and we'd do enough to barely get by, and then we'd be starving. And then he'd say, I'll have to see if I can just get a hold of A.P. Carter. And he said they'd call somebody at Hilton's, and somebody'd go up the valley, and they'd leave that mountain there and come out. And he said then we'd have a whole week of good dates if we could just get the Carter family. And so that's the way it was back then. But he was quite a man.
It's this tradition, you know, of singing the old songs and then also make up new ones, which is the wonderful thing which the Carter family taught to me and many other people. Woody Guthrie got it from them. The idea that folk music wasn't just old music, it wasn't just new music, it was a combination of the old and new, all mixed up together. And no two people sang them exactly the same. That's the wonderful thing about it, that you get hold of an old song and you kind of wear it a little bit until finally after you'd sung it a few years, it was like a good old pair of shoes. It just fits your feet. Johnny, I want you to sing some of your songs too. Just a moment though, we got an interruption here, but I'll be back in a second. Oh, pardon me. There we go.
Your lighter, I'm sorry. Pete, when I was a kid, say 1, 2, 3.
Let's have a pause here. So what was interesting well, it's a very long show. It's just a part that I selected, so don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Bless you. So the thing is that what I liked about this bit of what June Carter was saying was that presence of an artist on this stage. So because after all, it's a show. So like it's the performance too. So that aspect, which is even important in the old country or gospel stuff. And what I liked about Pete Seeger was the combination of the old songs and new songs so many of my musician friends don't get it. They just think like you shouldn't cover any other artists if you have your own material, because why should you cover them? The original already exists. But Pete Seeger's version, which I like more, is that as soon as you start doing somebody else's song, a part of it is yours. It's not 100% that song anymore. So it's like you put your heart in it if you really believe in it. So that's the thing that, from experience, I really believe into. And then, so the Johnny Cash thing that I like is that intimacy of a simple country music song that he talks about.
4 or 5 years old. My dad hopped freight trains, rode the rods, the boxcars on top of them, wherever he could get work, you know. He always sent the money back home. And that left, except for the kids in school, my mother and I. She played the guitar, and she has that lick there. And I just loved it. And the first song I ever learned was one that she sang. She might have been thinking of my dad, who was away working for a living to send money home, when she sang, "So often there's a mother always waiting you at home." It's the very first song I remember.
What'd you sing?
So you're going to leave the old home, Jim. Today you're going away. You're going among the city folks to dwell. So spoke a kind old mother to her boy one summer day. If your mind's made up that way, I wish you well. The old home will be lonesome, we'll miss you when you're gone. The birds won't sing so sweet when you're not nigh. But if you get in trouble, Jim, just write and let us know. She spoke these words and then she said goodbye. If sickness overtakes you and old companions shake you, as through this world you wander all alone, when friends you haven't any, in your pocket not a penny, there's a mother always waiting you at home.
So for me, like, that's country. If you like it like that. If you can't get that and you think it's boring or slow, whatever, then I don't know. It's just hard to change your mind, maybe. But like, my mom always sang those songs to me because back then she was coming from Oklahoma, like a very country music kind of city. So I just don't think about it. Like for me, it's like in my subconscious. Those songs are like lullabies and they're just sweet. So I remember some of you were complaining that like, why even bothering to make a movie about Johnny Cash? So yeah, some of us have that sweet feeling, some of us don't. And I mean, in the end, it's about feelings. There is no formula. So I can't like force you to love country music. But like, that's the thing. If you dig that, it's simple, it's truthful, and you should just feel it. Just like you feel any other kind of music that you like and maybe I don't, you know? All right. Okay, so this one also I wanted to mention it. So if you're interested some more about the story of Johnny Cash and June Carter, there's only this one screening that I found out in Glory Cinema Hot Dogs. It's a new documentary. So it's a Sunday, February 20th. I'm going to be there. I just wanted to let you know that if you like, let's go together. So, because some of you said you wanted to know more about the life of Johnny Cash and June Carter. So at that time, I suggested reading a couple of good biographies that are there. That would be a total of like 2,000 pages. If you're not into that, at least you can try 90 minutes of a good documentary. I've heard it's a good one. So about the Carters, the Cashes, and the course of country music. All right, so now, okay, the controversial one. All right, so the session that I loved, and well, some people have different ideas. So, well, I changed the title a little bit. Let's just forget about the U.S. thing. So I like to call it John Lennon versus Squares. I mean, because people kept on bothering me after that until like even a couple of days ago. Like, why do you like John Lennon? What do you want from the man? And, I mean, he's fake, he's this, he's that. Listen, this is not something new for me. I said it again and again that, well, if I knew just one of these guys in the whole season, that was Lennon, because that's what I worked on. So please don't tell me what I know and what I don't know. I mean, if you don't like Lennon, that's perfectly fine. I don't want to idolize him. But don't tell me that you don't know what you're talking about. I mean, you can have your ideas. You can be on the other side, definitely. I don't know, be right, be lefty, be center, north, south, whatever. But please, please don't try to convince me that I haven't read about history, because I have. Fortunately, unfortunately, I don't know. So then, two things that I wanted to show you that, like, it's not only you who don't like Lennon. Well, actually, let's see two other people who also hate Lennon. Not a big deal, right? So let's watch two other haters. Now, so the first one is in Montreal, and I have seen like loads and loads of DVDs and footage about people giving all sorts of shit to Lennon here and there. So it's really not new. So I'm not his advocate. So the first one is in Montreal, Bedin, and this guy Al Cap is actually an artist, a cartoonist. He's totally against him, so search that. And yeah, the hotel is still there in Montreal, by the way. So yeah, there are some memorabilia if you go to Montreal about Lennon's. Okay, because that session was only done in Amsterdam and Montreal, only in two places. Interesting. So this is the Montreal session, Bedding for Peace.
I applaud you for it.
I mean, if you want to prove it, you can prove it.
I don't feel that there's any great interest in it. Clearly, you must have felt the world wanted to know what your private parts look like, and now the world knows. Now that you have a song set, and one of the lines, and correct me if it's in, Christ, it ain't easy.
Rubbish. I didn't say. The lyrics go, Christ, you know it ain't easy. You know how hard it can be. The way things are going to go in, they're going to crucify me and you, baby.
But in the lyric, you said they were going to crucify you.
Yeah, if you take it literally.
Well, how did you mean it? I know that.
It means everything you want it to mean.
What did you want it to mean?
They're going to crucify me and you and everyone else.
If he's crucified, you.
Well, I haven't said that they were going to crucify me. I've not.
I have.
You make the claim they're going to crucify you.
Everyone.
But you said they're going to crucify
Oh,
me.
if you're going to take everything
Me
literally.
is you.
Me and I say the
I don't permit you to speak for me. Who are you speaking
I took
for?
that liberty, Mr. Cap.
Well, it's too much of a liberty.
Speaking on behalf of the people in general, you know, in a poetic
speaking
sense.
for
I hope it doesn't
yourself.
upset you.
It does upset me. If I'm going to
Well,
choose
don't
a
listen to the
spokesman,
rest
I'll
of it.
choose Vaughn Monroe. If I can choose my own thing. And if I'll choose Madame New.
But I can choose to sing about what I want in whichever fashion I wish.
Yes, but you mustn't include me. Now, you're not my spokesman. Are we agreed?
I'm everyone's spokesman.
No, you're not mine. Not
You're mine and I'm
Everybody
yours.
but me. No,
If you write an article, whatever article that may be, it's going to affect us. It's
I
going
don't
to affect
say
all
I
these
am
people.
speaking
It's going to
for
affect
John
the whole
Lennon.
world.
As a representative of the human race, I'm speaking for us all, whether you like it or not.
Whatever race you're the representative of, I ain't part of it.
Well, yours is
Maybe yours is the human race, and mine is
Everybody
something less hirsute.
Who do you write your cartoons for?
I write my cartoons for money, just as you sing your songs. Exactly the same reason.
Yeah,
And exactly the same reason much of this is happening too, if the truth be told.
But if
Do you think I could earn money by some other way, by sitting in bed for 7 days, taking shit from people like you? I could write a song in an hour and earn more money.
Now, look here. Now, don't say this. You got into bed so people like me
Yeah, right.
see you.
Not for money. That's what you're saying.
It won't do you any real harm. Except you might get.
But I can earn money
But I tell you what
easier
will do
ways
you
than
harm.
doing this.
I'll tell you what would do you harm. So could I. I could make a lot more drawing people like you than confronting you. And I must say it's much more
Right,
appetizing
okay.
drawing them because I can leave.
I prefer singing to doing this, but I'm doing this for
What
a
you've
reason.
just done is, when you said taking shit from people like you, now I was invited here. You knew I was coming.
Yeah, sure.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
But we're not doing it for
You
money.
have-
You
have
indicated
any
I was doing it
manners
for...
at all.
Oh, you have manners?
Why, I'm your guest. And really,
I'm yours.
No, you're not. This is your bedroom. But now, I made some note about But this business of going to crucify me, what indication?
Yeah, and it goes back to that again. It goes on and on. So this one is like 2 hours. So just so you get the idea. It's just back and forth, back and forth. And yeah, you see, so the squares, as I like to call them, they're not necessarily like those who are not into art, or like, even some of them were quite lefties, but they just couldn't get the idea. I mean, I got it. Some people couldn't, still can't. And it's not a big deal. Like, so the other one that I have is Gloria Emerson from New York Times, who actually had some moments of being quite anti-establishment. But in this simple one, advertising campaign in pain, for advertising campaign for peace, she just can't take it and can't understand it. So what Lenin is saying to me is quite simple. So many of you are telling me, well, he's on T-shirts. He's like commercialized, and he should know the rules better. What rules are you talking about? I mean, to me, it's quite clear what he wanted. He said, well, just listen. So I'm not going to comment. Yeah. So, I mean, if it's not clear for you, then ask me questions.
The only reason, if I'm going to get on the front page, I might as well get on the front page with the word peace.
But you've made yourself ridiculous.
To some people, I don't care. If it,
You're too good for
if it
what
saves
you're doing.
lives.
You don't think you... Oh, my dear boy, you're living in another
Well, you talk to
You
them.
don't think you saved a single life.
Maybe we'll
You
say
probably
something.
helped Turkey move up the
It
chart.
didn't do a bit of use.
No.
It's still gone down, so it didn't do anything.
But, I mean, you don't equate the civil war that's going on in Nigeria with that, and then talk about, well, this is my form of protesting, because people in anti-war campaigns are too serious.
Yes.
And they get battered. What do you know about a protest movement anyway?
I know a lot about it.
It's a lot more than sending your chauffeur in your car back to Buckingham
You're
Palace.
just a snob about it. The only way
You're
to
a
make...
fake. I mean, I know in England it's kind of smart not to be too serious about everything.
Everything needs a smile, you know.
I see.
For instance, even if
The Cakeville Massacre, ha ha ha. Can't you give up something else that would mean a little bit more?
It doesn't, it's not the sacrifice. You can't get that into your head, can you? And you've stated half a dozen times the MBE is irrelevant. I agree. There was no sacrifice to get rid of the MBE because it was embarrassing.
Then what kind of a protest did you make? You said, I don't know much about
an
Nigeria.
advertising campaign for peace. Can you understand that?
No, I can't.
A very big advertising campaign for
vulgar
peace.
and self-aggrandizing.
Well, you think
Are you
it's-
advertising
Oh,
John Lennon or
do you want nice middle-class gestures for peace and intellectual manifestos written by a lot of half-witted intellectuals and nobody reads them? That's the trouble with the peace movement.
Well, it just seems a Netherland. I mean, I can't think of anyone who seems more remote from the ugliness of what's happening than you.
Well, I
do see you getting up on a Tuesday morning and thinking, let's see, what shall we do today and what war is going on?
But that's your imagination, you know, really.
You carry on, why don't you make a film on it, that's it?
I'm someone who admired you very much.
Well, I'm sorry you liked the old mop tops, dear, and you thought I was very satirical
talking about
and
Cash
witty,
Me on the Beat.
and you liked Hard Day's Night, love, but I've grown up, but you obviously haven't.
Have you?
Yes, Bob.
What have you grown up to?
No, 29.
Yes. How is Greece?
It's beautiful.
We did a nice war protest on the army TV while we were there.
By the way, you know.
I suppose you didn't like us going to Greece there. You think you shouldn't go to a fascist country like Greece, and it's all right to live in a fascist country like Britain or America, is it?
I think America is a good place to live right now because, I mean, if you were interested or committed and not too cowardly, you might conceivably make a difference by what you did. That's one of the...
Well, we've been trying to go to America to do something for the last 7 or 8 months, but I can't get in. Oh, yeah,
They
we'll
take
turn
it
it.
seriously. You don't understand how they protest, my dear. They don't... They
Listen,
go on the
will you tell
subway.
me, what were they singing at the moratorium?
Which, I mean, the moratorium is throughout the
the one
nation.
here, the recent big one, they were singing Give These a Chance, you know.
A song of yours,
Well, yes,
I
and
knew
it was
you'd bring
written
that up.
specifically for them.
Where are we and what is this? And what have you have to do with the moratorium? So they sang one of your songs.
Well, if you...
Great song, sure, but is that all you can say about that? The moratorium?
You were saying that in America they're so serious about the protest movement.
Yes, they are.
But they were so flippant that they were singing a happy-go-lucky song, which happens to be one I wrote. And I'm glad they sang it. And when I get there, I'll sing it with them.
So yeah, this one I just wanted to mention it because well, Lennon and the Doors and Chuck Berry and some of the other guys just performed right across the street from where we are right now, at Varsity Stadium. I guess which it used to look different as I've been told. So on the same year of those clips, so 1969, that was a rock and roll revival. There's a documentary about it called Sweet Toronto, which you can check out by D.A. Pennebaker, who also made documentaries about Dylan and David Bowie. So that's a good one. This is the poster for that. Okay. Yeah, so something about Jim Morrison. I heard here or there that Jim Morrison wasn't that much of a writer. Yes, some people believe that. I personally don't, as a student of literature. I don't know if you've read the poetry, and based on that you're talking about it, but then we can discuss it. But based on what I've read, he has some good works, literary works, and he has actually about 1,600 pages of poetry. So if you don't call that person a poet, I don't know what you call him, and so we should talk about it. Yeah, so he definitely had some poetic moments, more than some actually, many. So yeah, so the guy had feelings. He had issues just like all of us. But yeah, I can't say he wasn't an artist. I mean, I can't say you should enjoy his music or his poetry, but he had something to say. So many other guys that we couldn't talk about, again, they just had the passion for rock and roll, like Kurt Cobain. We didn't have time to talk about him. So these guys, well, absolutely did whatever you saw in Jack Black's character about rock and roll, which was about passion more than anything else. Pete Townsend, actually the character of Zach, the guitarist in School of Rock, was based on this guy. You see that they even look kind of similar. And he did that windmill thing, which was Pete Townsend move. He's from The Who, the British man. And Jack Black's character was based on Angus Young from AC/DC. So you see even the school uniform. They still wear that. They came here a couple of months ago. They came to Downsview Park and performed. It was so loud that I couldn't hear anything after the concert. So they're still loud. They're still rocking right.